So I am frequently accused of living in a fantasy world, online, through social media, and also just with people that I know. And yes, it is true. I do live in a fantasy world. And if you'd like to know how to create your own fantasy world, I'm going to give you a few helpful suggestions to sprinkle a little fairy dust on your reality. Now, if you are excited to watch today's video, please give it a thumbs up right now. And let's go ahead and go and dive right into our fantasy world discussion. I do think it's funny how I will receive criticism from people either online or in person. I'm not being realistic, or I'm not acting appropriately, or my life is not adhering to the norms of what it should be. And to that I say, yes, I do live in a fantasy world, but guess what, folks? This whole thing is an illusion. The whole entire thing. I would prefer to live in a dreamlike fantasy world with rose-colored glasses, with fairy dust sprinkled all over it, where there's glitter and shine and technicolor skies and things going well, than in an illusion of a nightmare where things are going wrong, you're having problems, life is stressful, blah, 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 blah. Before I learned about the law of attraction, I would say that the framework of my reality was very gritty and very grainy. And I mean like literally the way that it looked. So it was kind of as if you put a monochromatic filter over my reality before I knew about the law of attraction. Okay, so it was all kind of dingy and black and white, and there was color. I did see color. But now that I've stepped into my fantasy world, life is a lot more colorful. It's a lot more bright. It's a lot more shiny. It's like having one of those really extra souped up Snapchat, Instagram filters plastered over everything all the time. If you found yourself in the fantasy world where everything's kind of technicolor, shiny, things are working out, it's like a beautiful, magical place. If you know what I'm talking about, please go ahead and write it down in the comments and confirm what I already know so everybody else can see it, that this is a realm that we all can access and we all do access at least once in a while. So if you're living in more of the gritty reality right now, or if you would just like to amp up the shine on your fantasy world, your dream illusion, because again, the whole thing's a fantasy, folks. The whole thing is a fantasy. I'm just saying, let's make it a fun fantasy, okay? Let's make it a fun, pretty, shiny, happy fantasy, not a Tales from the Crypt, decrepit, sad, and depressing fantasy. Let's make it a fun one. Here are a few law of attraction tips. The first tip is to look for beauty. Often what human beings are doing is they're looking for problems. What's wrong? What doesn't look good? What needs to be eliminated? And so when we look into our reality and we're looking for problems, or we're looking for things to complain about, or we're looking for the imperfections, through the law of attraction, you get what you're looking for. So if you're out there looking for things to criticize, looking for things to pick apart, your reality is not going to be the dreamlike fantasy world. It's going to be a world littered with imperfections, littered with problems. So as for me, I do a lot of things like looking at cloud formations, or going out and looking at the sunset, or if I see that there's some shine that's on the water or on the leaves of the trees, I'll take a moment and I'll dwell on it and I'll focus on it. And I've been doing this for years now, and it's to the point where I really feel that I live in like the most beautiful place on earth. And there's probably people that would disagree with that. And I'm sure there's people that live right here that think that this place is hideous. But for me, when I walk out, I see beauty everywhere. So it really is like I'm wandering around my town with rose-colored glasses on all the time. Oh, and by the way, have you subscribed yet to my channel? Please subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Another great suggestion is to always be amplifying the ambiance of your surroundings. So you don't just have to be a passive observer where you're sitting back and looking for things to appreciate so you can drum up more of them. But you can also add things in that enhance the ambiance of wherever it is that you are. So for me, I like to listen to like really beautiful music when I'm driving, or like even when I go to the grocery store. You know, I'll plug in some really beautiful, soothing music because that just makes the ambiance of the whole trip so much better. Different fabrics, clothes that are comfortable or that are luxurious, putting yourself in a position where all of your senses are being attended to in a very beautiful way. You can play with adding scents, so like candles in your home if you like that kind of stuff, or perfume. Now, this may seem like an artificial way to live in a fantasy world, but again, what you focus on, you attract more of through the law of attraction. The more you create ambiance in your environment, the more you're going to attract to yourself places and situations that have a high degree of ambiance. And I would very much say that ambiance has a lot to do with living in a fantasy world. The next tip, the hair. I don't know what to do with my hair anymore. Okay. The next tip that I have for you for creating a fantasy world through the law of attraction. I feel like this one should go without saying, but we're going to say it anyway for the folks in the back. Okay. High vibration. Got to raise that vibration. You got to get yourself in a really peak vibrational state. You got to be happy. You got to be optimistic. You got to be thinking positively. The happier you are, the more you line up with a fantasy type reality naturally without doing any of this other stuff that I'm even talking about. So a high vibration is critical to living in a fantasy world. Another great suggestion to creating this illusion, again, it's an illusion. I don't care how bad someone's reality is. It's an illusion either way, okay? But the trick to creating a fantasy world illusion rather than the nightmare illusion, ask for it. Ask to live in a magical world. Wake up in the morning and ask, you know what? I'd love to be experiencing that fantasy world situation again. Would you please bring it to me? Asking for things makes you more receptive to them. So if you want to live in a fantasy world, in a dream world where things are fun, and maybe people think you're a little delusional and crazy, but that's okay because you're enjoying it, ask. Wake up every morning and ask for it. This is the big one, I would say, because you're going to find yourself in a fantasy world from time to time. Like we've all been there. I know you've had those moments where everything's shining, everything's perfect, everything's beautiful, everything's magical. Do yourself a favor. Allow yourself to dwell there. Allow yourself to stay there. People are often so quick to jump right out of the fantasy and get back to quote unquote reality, aka their nightmare, because they feel like there's some kind of impending doom coming that they need to go attend to. Well, I can't hang out here in Fantasyland. I better get back to the grind. I can't just sit here and have fun. No, I better get back to work. The sky is gonna fall if I just hang out here and enjoy this moment. Please remember that through the law of attraction, what you focus on expands. The more you allow yourself time to be in that state when you find yourself there, the more you're going to create that state. And P.S., in the fantasy world, there are no fires. There are no problems. There is nothing that you need to do if you are suspended in that state. Why? Because the happy dream world is just a happy dream world. It's not the world of problems. It's not the world of fires to put out. It's not the world of working your butt off. It's a different realm entirely. And if you want to live there permanently, you got to be okay with dwelling there when you find yourself in it. So I would say of all of the items there, the raising of the frequency is probably the most important one. I'm going to link up a playlist with some vibration raising tips, either somewhere here on the screen or in the description. You can find it, I'm sure. So go ahead and check that playlist out and have a great day. Bye-bye.